Good afternoon. Welcome to 2 Minute Warning. This is the high-paced American football podcast in which time is in short supply, but opinions certainly are not. I'm back. I'm Matt. That's Jez. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Other than having been ill for the last week, you can probably hear it in my voice. I'm
I can, yes.
certainly a little bit more husky than usual, and I've got phlegm in my ears and all that kind of stuff. But other than that, I'm doing well.
Yes. Yeah.
Ready to talk some football. Looking forward to week 2 in the NFL. You were predisposed last week with family things.
I was. It's a birthday month. Well, it's a couple of birthdays in a couple of months between now and Christmas. So I do get disposed by family for party reasons.
Yeah, but at least you get some cake.
Well, to be honest, Jess, I'm not a cake fan. So
No.
with my birthday coming up next Saturday, I'm not having a cake.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of cake. I had cake at my birthday because it was made for me, but no, I always found that cake at birthdays was for other people more than it was for me, to be honest.
I'm having brownie instead. But
and I've had the said brownie that your wife makes, and it's expletive-tastic. So yeah, yes. You'll enjoy that anyway.
Yes, yeah, I always do.
Yes, indeed. So we've got a big show. As always, I'm going to talk about everything in week 2, get you ready for kickoff in just under 2 hours of the first group of games. But first, we'll take a little look back at week 1 in the NFL. Now, there are always some pretty big updates some pretty big upsets in every week of the NFL. Yes. But what do you think, with 2 minutes on the clock, was the biggest upset of week 1 in the NFL? 2 minutes.
Well, I think we're going to agree on this one. And it was the Jameis Winston show, not in New Orleans because they got displaced due to the hurricane hitting New Orleans. He threw 5 touchdowns in that game against the Green Bay Packers. And to be honest, what I thought was, going off what I know of Jameis Winston, and yes, okay, limited knowledge of the guy, I thought he was a bust, but apparently not. Jameis Winston shocked me, and blowing out those Packers was interesting, shall we say?
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I'm more than happy to agree with you, and I'm more than happy to put my hands up and say how absolutely cataclysmically wrong I was last week when I said that the Saints would not really be very much this year and would be blown out by the Packers. I'm very happy to be wrong in this instance. Aaron Rodgers struggling was of particular enjoyment to me. I'm not ashamed to say that I enjoy watching that man fail. And yeah, I was right, says Duff, who was in your seat last week. You said I was mad. I mean, you are mad. That hasn't changed, but you were right. I will give you that. I will absolutely give you that. And welcome into you. Yeah. I'm not sure it's going to last. How long will Jameis be this Jameis instead of the Jameis that we saw in Tampa Bay? But I enjoyed it while it lasted. The Saints did do it for their hometown faithful, even though they weren't at home. Big shock for me, absolutely.
Yeah, interesting way to kick off the show. However, we do move on, and with week 1 in the books, our year-long prediction competition is well underway, as is tradition now. And Jeremy, with 2 minutes on the clock, you're going to take us through the results and look at our first week of action.
I wasn't going to put 2 minutes on the clock actually, because
That's fine.
it won't take me 2 minutes.
Just bang those results out.
Just give you a little update. What did you do to deserve that, our stuff? Well, you know very well because I told you last week. But this is the 2-minute warning trophy for predictions, and I smacked Matt around a bit last year, and
you did,
and kicked him. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, you might have been talking to Mr. Harmstone, who's in crew. Unfortunate. Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense. Yes. So last week, even though you weren't here, you sent in your predictions, and we got them out on the show, and you won inexplicably. I'm not sure how you did win last week. You don't get the trophy. That's for the whole year. You've got to, but it's an important first step in believing that you have a chance, even though you don't. Yep, you got 9 correct last week. I got 6 correct last week, and Duff, our guest host, got 6 right as well. So Duff and I were on the same page, but you were 3 ahead there. In our new segment, which counts towards the predictions in You Bet, I correctly said no, Christian McCaffrey and Tevin Coleman would not have over 199 combined rushing yards in the game. Spot on. So that's a point for me, which brings the week 1 total to 9 to you, 7 to me, and therefore the 2021 total 9 to you, 7 to me. And we'll You Bet it up later, and obviously we'll predict all of the games as we go along and see where we end up next week.
Yeah, I mean, was there any other shock results in there for you out of those first week's games?
Yeah, not so much shocks. Just okay, you're there, are you? The Cardinals being as good as they were wasn't so much shocking as great. You're further along in the process than I believed, and I think anybody else believed. I really didn't see them going over the Titans, but I didn't expect, even if they were to win, that wouldn't have shocked me. But the way they just smacked them around and totally demolished them, I think that was a shock, really. No, other than that, it was all fairly standard. Some games that could have gone either way. What about you?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same for me. I was a little bit disappointed in the new start in New England, but I'll get onto that, I'm sure, throughout the season. It was just a bit of an odd. The positive for me, and yeah, okay, we've been through it last year, was how teams are stepping up in protecting fans back into stadiums, and getting back that sort of the 100% capacity, which is good to see. It's nice to have the fans back. I know that's the global thing now anyway. It's back to football, baby.
Yeah, and it did seem like nothing had changed.
No.
Like, we came into this year, and I'd kind of forgotten in my mind that we were coming back to a crowd, and it was like, oh yeah, there's a crowd there. Of course there's a crowd there. That's what happens at games. I'd forgotten the times of there not being anybody in the stands, but at the same time, I personally feel like they did a good job with the sound piping in and keeping the camera down on the field so that you couldn't tell a lot of the time. Yeah. So yeah, but no, business as usual in 2021. Good to see.
It is.
And we will crack on to get on with week 2 of the 2021 season, which got underway Thursday night as the Washington football team welcomed division rivals the New York Giants. Duff, you might want to earmuffs, mate, for the next couple of minutes. And they narrowly defeated the New York Giants 30-29. What did you think of this game? 2 minutes.
Well, I mean, we expected good things from Washington football team, right? I guess with Fitzpatrick going down last week in the schedule, and Heineke getting his chance to shine. I know you're a big believer.
Love Taylor Heineke.
Heineke.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've seen highlights of this game, and that call right at the end of the game was crazy because you had was it one or two of the Giants D-line had stepped offside, which then the kick had to be retaken, which won Washington the game.
Yeah,
It was all kinds of crazy, but that's football, and that's why I love it. Good for Washington. They've had a pretty decent start to the season. But yeah, what did you think?
I don't want to talk ill of Ryan Fitzpatrick, but I'm really glad that Taylor Heineke is now the guy in Washington. I think he deserved that after how he played at the end of last season, and it's unfortunate that it had to happen at the expense of Fitzpatrick. And I hope that as much as I would like him to recover, I don't want Fitzpatrick back under centre in Washington come week 6 or 8 or whenever he comes back. And if Taylor Heineke can continue to put together this body of work, it's going to be a difficult argument to take him out. He got the ball around, especially to Terry McLaurin, who is continuing his meteoric rise in the NFL. He's Scary Terry. They call him that for a good reason. Duff says that DJ played well for a change. I'm not so convinced on that, and I'm concerned about Daniel Jones. I think he might be not on the train, but waiting on the platform to catch the train to Bustville.
Yeah. It's a shame to see, but
he's there with his bags, but he's not on the train yet.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, cracking end to what was a cracking game.
It was a good game, and I often don't like the Thursday games, and that was I'm glad I went and spent the time watching that one. It was a good one.
Yeah, definitely. But we move on, and it's Sunday, which only means one thing: come 6 p.m. UK time and 1 p.m. Eastern. It's kickoff for week 2, and the first game we're going to look at is the Las Vegas Raiders at the Pittsburgh Steelers. What do we think of this one?
This is quite a difficult one because on one side you've got the Steelers who somehow, I suppose we were talking about shocks earlier, I'm not quite sure how they were able to come back and defeat the Buffalo Bills last week. I think that was more to do with some inept play from Buffalo rather than skill from Pittsburgh, who themselves started off very, very slowly. And the Raiders looked good on Monday night. They really did look good. But you also have to take into account that they were against an ailing Baltimore Ravens side, who are really struggling to especially get their run game going. Troublesome there. So I'm expecting a good game, a scrappy game, as both of these guys fight to prove that they are at the top of their game, at the tops of their divisions at least. But I'm going to give the edge to the Steelers, I think. Steelers to win.
Well, this one I'm going to disagree with right off the bat.
Good.
I think, like you said, Steelers did their thing. Raiders kind of did their thing. And for me, the Raiders beating the Baltimore Ravens was a little bit of a shock for me. I didn't see the Raiders doing it, but they did. They played a pretty decent game the whole way through. And I just think just maybe, the Raiders click. The Raiders win tonight, and maybe the Raiders do some damage, and maybe we'll visit it back, post Christmas. But yeah, Raiders may do some damage this year.
I would not be having Raiders in potential playoff conversations yet, but you can allude to that all you like. It's good for us to differ, because only one of us gets a point that way, so I like that. Unless it's a tie, obviously, and then neither of us get a point, because screw ties. But I will also remind you and our audience, and maybe even tell you, because I'm not sure I've told you, but 2 timeouts are now available on this show, as it is doubled in length. So if you need a timeout, you've got 2 of them. Use them whenever you like. I expect you have some games earmarked for longer conversations.
Yes.
That certainly was not one of them. But we move on. We're heading into Pennsylvania next as the Philadelphia Eagles host the San Francisco 49ers. Interesting game. Some similarities across these two teams. What do you think?
Yeah.
How's it going to go? 2 minutes.
I mean, the 49ers, I mean, they look pretty good. Last week, I know they kind of rotated at quarterback, which was nice to see. And Jimmy G looks a little bit less robotic now.
Yeah.
Which
It's amazing what that threat of losing your job will do for you.
Well, yes, yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, all in all, I thought the 49ers, they put the points, they clicked pretty much on both sides of the ball. And they deserve to come away with that win. And I don't see that changing this weekend. I don't think the Eagles are going to threaten a 2-0 start for the 49ers. You?
I'm kind of torn on the Eagles. Obviously, they absolutely battered the Falcons last week. But as they've been saying all week on Good Morning Football on the NFL Network, week 1 is a liar. And is that what we can expect from the Eagles for the rest of this year? I'm not sure. I do believe in Jalen Hurts. I've said that many times. But this 49ers team just seem to be clicking, and they've got lots of things in the pipeline, mixing in a bit of Trey wherever they need to, and getting him involved with Jimmy G still around, still on the field. So that's a great way to introduce him. Some other teams have been doing that in the similar way with their rookies. So yeah, I think the 49ers are the more polished, ready team. So I'm going to go with them for the win in this one. Basinga Ludlam, welcome in. We need to get you on this show at some point. Let us know your schedule and what weeks would be best for you. We're beat up in the secondary, so Eagles have a chance if Hurts has a good game. Still looking for the Niners to be 2-0, though. I can't disagree with you there, really.
I wouldn't disagree either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I think this could be a good game. I see the potential for points in it, regardless of the final outcome. So
Yeah, absolutely. But we move now to Cleveland, where the Texans are at the Browns. Interesting to see how the Browns got on last week and how they're going to fare this week. What do you think? 2 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, so I suppose both of these teams, going back to the shocks, both of these teams had pretty good weeks last week. Even though the Browns lost, they really showed that they deserve to be in that top of the AFC conversation with the Chiefs. They held them for the majority of that game and really kind of shut Mahomes down, apart from a few major flashes, which obviously Mahomes does. And the Texans, with Tyrod Taylor, or Tyrod if you prefer, really kind of showed up the Jags and Trevor Lawrence. So they both had really good week ones. I don't think you can compare the Browns and the Jaguars, so I don't see the Texans repeating the experience into this week. The Browns are the Browns. I believe in the Browns. I as you did with the Raiders, I expect we'll see them in January, and so I think this is a nice, not easy, but a well-deserved victory coming their way. Browns win.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree again here. I think the Browns gave the Chiefs one hell of a game, and the fact that they're now going up against a Texans team that, in my opinion, are nowhere near as good as the Chiefs. I can see the Browns turning it on at home, putting on a show for the fans back inside the stadium. And I just think, yeah, why aren't they mentioned at that top of the AFC? Why aren't they in that mix? All right, they've not got the recent history, but they've certainly got the team there now that could, as you said, could be in conversation come post Christmas and in January. So yeah, Browns win.
I don't think there are many people picking the Texans for this one.
No.
You may be out there thinking Texans win. If you feel that way, drop it in the chat. Let us know.
Yeah.
Have it recorded on the record, so if you're right next week, we can drop you your praise. Nope, says Duff. Yep, there we go then. That pretty much sums that up for me.
Duff, you have the right to say, sitting in for me last week, but I think me and Jez disagree.
You guys are just saying words to me. Yes, we are. That's fine.
Well, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. You should watch some NFL. You would enjoy it, and that's why you haven't watched it. Anyway, moving on to the Broncos at the Jaguars. The Jaguars in their own stadium this time, rather than there being a fleur-de-lis in the middle of TIAA Bank Stadium, I want to say. A stadium that has been used for many different things over the last year, including 2 separate stadium stampede matches. Will the Broncos stampede their way through the Jaguars? See what I did there? What a segue. I'm such a guy.
Well
2 minutes. Here we go.
Trevor Lawrence, that is my big question mark. The guy in his career up to last week had never, ever lost a game. Correct?
A regular season game. Yeah. No, you were right. Yeah. That was his first regular season loss in his life.
It was. So the guy looked a little bit defeated. 51 attempts last week, converting 28 for 332 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Does he need time to adjust? Don't know. He's not being given that time to adjust. For me, Trevor Lawrence and the Jags aren't going to have the answer. Again, I think he's going to lose his second ever regular season game, and the Broncos will sneak it. I'm hoping for a shootout in this one, though.
I mean, to answer your question, it's the Jags. I think that is why Trevor Lawrence hasn't come out there and, bash. It's the Jags. He needs, some targets, and that's going to take some time. They're on the right path. Again, they've done this many times. Hopefully they can put some people around him and actually develop rather than get into the playoffs and then sell all their players, as is tradition in Jacksonville. The Broncos looked all right against the Giants last week. But I think that was more down to the Giants' secondary than the Bridgewater-led offense. Melvin Gordon rushed for 101 yards last week, and Mark Ingram was able to put 85 yards on the Jaguars. Gordon's better than Ingram, so I expect Gordon to have another big game. Run out of time. Broncos win.
We agree again, Mr. Walker.
It's dangerous.
It is.
If we do it too much, apparently some planets start to combust and collapse in on themselves.
I've heard that, yeah. They made a TV show about that too.
Sorry about that, Kepler 859. Happy trails.
Yeah, there we are. However, another game I'm kind of excited to see is the New Orleans Saints at the Carolina Panthers. Saints are nowhere near home still, and I don't know when they're going back home. I don't know whether it's been cleared for them to go
week
back
4
home
or
yet.
week 6, apparently.
There we are. Plenty of road travels for them, whether they're home or on the road. However, we're going to discuss this one, and you're going to let me know what you think of it with 2 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, Saints at Panthers. Okay, so the Panthers played fairly well against the Jets last week, but I didn't see that killer instinct that you need in this sport from them last week. I think they could have put way more points on the Jets, but for whatever reason they didn't. They were playing fine. The Jets were playing fine as well. They weren't bad. They weren't stellar. So I'm surprised with both teams really that they didn't take advantage and really open up their offenses and put more points up. Like the Saints did. The Saints went for blood, and even though they were leading for the entire game, they just went off on the Packers. And if you don't think that they're not going to do that on a division rival, then you're crazy. Add to that the fact that Jameis Winston is out to prove that last week wasn't a fluke, that week 1 is not a lie. I think the Saints win.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, Jameis Winston is going to go out there and set this game alight. And that, I think, is a real possibility. All right, Sam Darnold. I'm a bit foreign to this, calling Sam Darnold a Panther. However, he proved his point last week by beating his old team. However, like you said, they only put up was it 19-14, something like that.
Yeah, it was something in the teens. Yeah,
it was one of those low scoring games. But I think this week is obviously a tougher challenge. It's hard to disagree with what the Saints are doing, and hard to disagree with that. Yeah,
it's hard to disagree with me. Let's be honest. The great sage sat
you
over
got that
here,
type of face,
dropping wisdom.
Saints get my vote here.
Just had to rush you to the end there, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. Why not?
Jez still sounds coldy. Poor Jez. Thank you, Tamsin. Yes, yeah. We did discuss in the pre-show how I can kind of do a pretty good Fraser Crane impression right now with my husky voice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Could open my own
talk show
psychiatry talk show.
Talk show next week on the network.
Hello, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I'm listening.
Yeah.
Right.
It's on.
Now, while I still have a voice, let's crack on. And to our next game, to two very interesting teams. One more so than the other for me. We'll get to that. The Rams will travel to Indianapolis from Los Angeles to take on the Colts. 2 minutes, all yours.
Well, I see Matt Stafford has settled into that new uniform quite nicely. Yes, he had a corker of a game last weekend, and yes, it was against your Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears, because I'll get on to the Chicago Bears later. Carson Wentz, another foreign name for me to throw into the Colts. Both quarterbacks are new or newish to their teams. He didn't really have enough about him to do anything, and I don't think he's going to do anything decent this week. I'm not a believer in Carson Wentz, so yes, it's the LA Rams for me. How about you?
For me, and to paraphrase the great Dennis Green, the Colts are who we thought they were, and that is a mediocre team, and that hasn't really been improved by Carson Wentz. In fact, I think the opposite is true. I think they were a much better team under Philip Rivers. Perhaps they would have been a better team under one of Philip Rivers' many kids, or even just his sidearm, not the rest of his body. But if he left his arm behind, that might have been better for them as well. Joking aside, this is a tough matchup for Indianapolis. But unless Wentz and what is an all-star cast of receivers can actually go off, I don't see them outscoring what is now an elite passing attack led by Matthew Stafford and the Rams. He had 321 yards last week, which is pedestrian for him, as we know from his Detroit days. And 3 touchdowns over, I can't remember over who. But yeah, I'm going to go with a Rams win in this one.
Too many similarities in picks right now. We've got to, really get that in there with the, differences.
That's another planet. Sorry, Vulcan. It was coming anyway.
Yeah, exactly. However, next up we have Buffalo Bills at the Miami Dolphins. It's an all AFC tie tonight. What do you think?
Now this is the part of the show where we start to talk ill of the Patriots, so I'm gonna really enjoy it here. But before I do, I will say, Patriots aside, that the Dolphins looked really balanced last week. They had a good passing game, they had a good running game, and they were probably running one of the more balanced offenses that we saw in week 1. And I think that's a big part of why they beat you. That said, the Patriots defense did put a lot of pressure on Tua, and that did throw him off his game at several occasions. The Buffalo Bills defense is better than the Patriots defense, so this could be a really rough day for Tua. And even if not, I think the Bills have got a much better chance of just going out there and outscoring the Dolphins and ignoring defense, especially more than the Patriots were able to last week. The Bills were upset by the Steelers. Started strong, but as we said, they floundered. I don't think they'll be at all happy to repeat this week. So, yeah, I'm all Bills. Bills win.
Yeah, so for me, Dolphins did surprise me last week in what was, I think most people on both sides of the fan bases will agree, was quite an S-word game, an awful game. And yeah, okay. It's a bit more like bragging rights, wasn't it? Dolphins won, they got the bragging rights. We go again in a couple of weeks.
And they'll get the bragging rights again, yeah. I see what you're saying.
They probably will. Bills are better than last weekend suggests. Last season suggests that too. With what they did, they've obviously built on that and gotten better. So yeah, we're not going to disagree again. It's Bills for me.
Okay. Poor Romulus. See you later.
Oh, I know.
Another planet bites the dust. Right. Staying in the same division, as you said, it's all AFC East for these two games. Lots of division rivalries here. Your New England Patriots will travel to play the New York Jets in another big rivalry game with 2 rookie quarterbacks at the helm. Take it away. Remember, your timeouts are available. 2 minutes.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is going to be an interesting game to see Zach Wilson in the green of the New York Jets versus Mac Jones in either this colour or it'll be in the blue. I'm pretty sure it's going to be...
I think it'll be the white. Yeah.
White, or they could use the red jerseys. Mac Jones does look fairly decent. I've seen him in pre-season. I saw him last week. He's all right. He's still settling into that role. Obviously, still a rookie QB. Now, never ever have New England played a rookie quarterback from the offset in the season at QB1. So it's something new. Obviously, they got rid of Cam Newton. We've brought back Brian Hoyer today as QB2. But Hoyer is up in the air for me. Running game was fairly decent with Damien Harris. I like Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne. They look fairly decent in their new uniforms as well. Sorry, New York. Pats win. It's going to be tight, though.
I will just go out and say I agree. I think the Patriots win this. But as an outside observer to the Patriots, I would be very concerned if I were a New England Patriots fan or coach at this point, and I will use my time out when the time comes to explain why. Okay, it was his first game. Fine, we'll take that into account. But Mac Jones panicked under pocket pressure at times, especially early in the game, in that silly moment where he decided to throw the ball backwards, which is a fumble. It's a fumble at every level of the game, NFL, college, and below. It was a silly move, and it just shows how flustered the guy is out there and that maybe he's not quite ready. He did settle in a bit more, and we didn't see any nonsense like that again. But Mac Jones is a pocket passer. You know, we've been saying that since he was drafted. He is a stay-in-the-pocket guy. If he doesn't have the protection of the offensive line, he's not a Justin Fields or a Jalen Hurts who can get out of the pocket and run and pick up yards with his feet. He's not that guy. So I think the biggest risk that the Patriots are under here is that everybody knows exactly who the Patriots are. And that is a dangerous place to be in the NFL. If you know exactly what kind of game the Patriots are playing on any given down, then you are in trouble. Defenses can focus completely on receivers and tight ends, and the linebackers can focus completely on the running backs and the backfield, because they know that Captain Statue is not going anywhere. Big Mac is in that pocket. You're not going to see anything more than like a 5, maybe 10 on a really good, really open play. You're not going to see a massive burst of speed from him to take it all the way like you would some of the other quarterbacks. And being that one-dimensional is a big, big risk. Started to see it last week. Established the running game really, really well. Then it came into the play action, but you know that that's the only other option. And it's kind of like stepping back into football from the 90s. It doesn't play like that anymore. And defenses are going to very quickly get a read on Mac Jones once he's played a few games. So I am concerned for the Patriots. Still think they beat the Jets.
Yeah. It's going to be a tough old season.
For you, I'm going to be there rubbing my paws and enjoying every second of it.
Yes, yeah. But talking about rubbing paws and everything.
Pause.
We go on to the Bengals at the Bears. Interesting game after last week's results. How do you see it going?
In a word, bad. And it's not even for the reasons that I've been piping on about for the last few months. The offensive line, just for the Chicago Bears, just gets weaker and weaker and weaker every week. We lost another offensive lineman this week. We had to put Larry Borum on IR. Jason Peters, who started the game last week, is questionable with his knee injury. Not to mention that he's 107 years old anyway, so that really doesn't help. Elijah Wilkinson, who did play left tackle versus the Rams last week, is probably going to get the start. But I'd never heard of Elijah Wilkinson, and I very heavily watched the Bears preseason games. I didn't hear his name come up once, so that's not good. We flexed in Alex Taylor from the practice squad to put another body in there, but there's not a whole lot of experience on this offensive line. And so, as much as I want to see Fields, and Fields was great last week, saw some great flashes of greatness from Fields, I don't want to see him behind that offensive line getting annihilated. So Andy Dalton, you can enjoy that, mate. And if you get broken, Nick Foles can get in there and take his pasting that he deserved last year as well. That said, the Bengals O-line isn't a whole lot better. They did manage to protect Joe Burrow to the tune of 20 for 27, 261 yards and a touchdown versus the Vikings. But the Bears front seven is a lot better than that Vikings front seven. It's a fairly weak front seven from the Vikings at the moment. And I think that will be the difference. And the Chicago Bears will win barely.
I'm going to take my time out when it does come up.
Good call.
However, Yeah, I thought the Bears would have won last week, but they didn't. But this week is a new
Another
week,
week? Mm.
and it could be very, very different. I don't think the Bengals are all that. Joe Burrow, yes, okay, fantastic. Well, I won't even go fantastic. I'll go decent. From what he's shown. And yeah, the stats for him weren't particularly good. Andy Dalton, yeah, I'm not a fan like you are. You know, it's an odd combination seeing the red rifle under center at Chicago. The guy just looks a bit odd in a Bears uniform. And I think he does need to be benched. I think, all right, if Chicago build up an O line that can protect Justin Fields, then Justin Fields fits in really well. Um, we already know what type of QB Justin is. We know what kind of fit Justin is with Chicago. You sang his praises when we did the draft. I sang his praises and thought, yeah, they got a decent rookie QB there. But yes, all in all, where did they go? Does Andy Dalton get put on the deck so often this week that they put in somebody else, or do they just start Justin from the off? I think Justin is a good call. However, the coaching staff at Chicago will disagree with both you and me, but Bears win.
Yeah, I think this is a good week to play a team like the Bengals if you're the
Mm,
Chicago Bears myself.
yeah, yeah. It's a good opportunity to get that first win on the board, and I think they have a very good opportunity to do so.
Two things here. Duff asked, did any of you see the horrific leg break in the Giants game? No, Duff, and I'm not going to go back and find it either, if I'm honest.
I saw clips of it. And well, no, sorry, I saw a still of it. I've not watched any videos because
No, thanks.
things like that just make me feel sick.
Yeah, no, I've still got PTSD from that, so no, won't be doing that. And
Yeah.
Dylan Owens, welcome in. JETS, Jets. I will say, sir, that you are about 5 minutes LATE, late. We already discussed the Jets. You missed your chance.
Yeah. We got another guy we've got to get back on.
Absolutely,
is
yeah.
Dylan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did
Dylan,
mention yesterday in the Facebook comment section that
we did.
it'll have to be when the next Patriots Jets game comes around.
Around
Pre-game.
Christmas time. Ruin my
Is it?
Christmas.
Is it? Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, let's find the date and let's book it in and get Dylan back on to be the only person out there who believes in the Jets. If he does. I mean, the jury's still out on that, I think.
Yeah.
But we move on to our next game. This one seems pretty cut and dry. One of the most kind of cut and dry games of the week.
Yeah.
And that is the Falcons traveling into Tampa Bay to face the Bucks. 2 minutes.
Well, this is all too easy, isn't it? Right? You've got Tom Brady and his crew, his pirate crew, on Talk Like a Pirate Day, needing to win another game, and yes, they had a pretty shaky start to the season, and I thought, oh, maybe there's a shock on the cards. And yes, the Cowboys gave them one hell of a game. However, they've not played since then, so they've had a bit more of a rest. Maybe it doesn't count as much as it does in soccer, having that rest. But I think, like you said, cut and dry here. It's going to be an all-out Falcon slaughter. Bucks win.
Yeah, I'm just going to go out there and say, yeah, I'm going for a Bucks win as well. But I'm looking at how overconfident the Bucks were going into that game with the Cowboys. I hope that was the wake-up call that they needed, because as much as the Falcons are not of the same caliber, if you go in and face any NFL team, it doesn't matter who they are, overconfident, then it's going to come back and bite you 9 times out of 10. So there is that potential if the Bucks are really overlooking these guys. But I had every confidence in the Falcons' resurgence last week. They'd performed okay in preseason. I'm going to call my timeout and chat about this one a bit more. They performed really well in the preseason, but then when it came to facing Philadelphia in week 1, they really fouled it up, to be honest. And the Eagles are not a top flight team. They're better than they were last year, no doubt, but they are not a top flight challenging team like the Bucks are. It did seem that the Falcons were trying to take a page from the Bears playbook of years past and used Cordell Patterson as their number 1 running back on sweeps and end arounds and all that kind of jazzy stuff. But it wasn't as successful as they'd hoped, and their running game floundered as a result. They need to get that sorted if they want to win any games this year. Weaknesses across the board, and you don't come into that Tampa Bay Buccaneers team with weaknesses. You just can't do it. This is going to be a very painful week for the Atlanta Falcons. Maybe it's going to end up being a prime opportunity for the Bucks to get some practice in for their second and third string.
Yeah, I mean, with the Bucks, I mean, they've kept, if not, 90%, if not all of their major players.
All 22 starters re-signed.
There we are. That makes a huge difference. They've got that consistency that won them the Super Bowl last year. Then, if they did it last year, not a lot seems to have changed. All right, it could have been an upset on the cards against the Cowboys, and it almost was. Like
it's injuries that are the only concern, really.
Yeah,
although all 22 are there, a good third of them are down with injuries. So
I think we both agree there, don't we? With the Buccaneers winning.
Absolutely, yeah. Would be happy to be wrong.
It'd be criminal to be wrong on International Talk Like a Pirate Day.
That's the thing, is it?
Yeah, it is a thing.
Why is it only International Talk Like a Pirate Day and not World Talk Like a Pirate Day? What countries are holding out and saying, no, we're not doing this today. It's not the right day for it. We'll do it next week. So you can forget the world. It's just International Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Maybe it's the ones that are deprived of rum.
Yar. There you go. Jaeger's listening. He's like, wow, a sentence I understood. Quick, get a comment in. Yar, pirates. Yar. Argentina. There you go. Tamsin nailing it once again.
Absolutely. Why not? Talk like a pirate in the chat if you want to. We do move on, and we have got a few more games to go. And we settle with Vikings at the Cardinals. What do you think about these two?
Now, the Cardinals, as we've mentioned, absolutely arrived last week. They took apart a very capable Tennessee Titans team, which is a difficult sentence to say. And Kyler Murray was able to share the ball around to the tune of 289 yards and 4 touchdowns. Not too shabby. Tannehill, on the other side, was sacked 6 times, mostly by Chandler Jones and not many other people. It was pretty much just Chandler Jones. In the other game, for the Vikings, Cousins was sacked 3 times by the Bengals. I don't think anybody is putting a direct comparison between the Cardinals and the Bengals defense. Ergo, I see Cousins having a lot of contact time with Chandler Jones today, shall we say. Could be a tough day to be upright in Minnesota. Last week I tossed a coin because it was close. No need for that this week. It's not going to be close. Cardinals win.
Yeah, I think, like we're saying, Kyler Murray looks like a quarterback that absolutely means a lot more business this year already. More rounded, more comfortable in the O-line again. Yeah, all right. I kind of feel sorry for the Vikings because I always thought, oh, maybe they'll do some good. They'll do well. And I kind of like the Vikings logo. Maybe that's why it's a thing. However, they've always let me down. I think they let you down in a bet last year as well.
Big time. Thanks for that.
Big time.
Thanks for reminding me.
And I think, like I said, it's going to be a long, long day for the Vikings. Yeah, cards have it.
While you've mentioned bets, would you like to hear my accumulator for today?
Oh, go on.
So it's an 8-team accumulator.
Yep.
I do not have the Vikings winning in it, so hopefully I'll be all right there. Some of this might spoil the predictions for other games, but they're also fairly obvious. So I have the Buffalo Bills beating the Dolphins, the Rams beating the Colts, the Saints beating the Panthers, the Cardinals beating the Vikings, the Bucks beating the Falcons, the Seahawks beating the Titans. We'll talk about that one next. The Dallas Cowboys beating the LA Chargers, and the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Baltimore Ravens. For my stake of £2, if all of those games come in, my return is £70.15.
Wow. I think you may be on to a little earner.
Yeah, that bet's still out there. We've got just over an hour until the games kick off, so if you would like to go out there and place a bet, go do that. Please bet responsibly. We've got You Bet coming up, our new segment, but for now, we'll crack on with the next game. As I mentioned, it's the Titans at the Seahawks. What do you think of this one? 2 minutes.
Well, I think with this one, maybe, just maybe, the Tennessee Titans will challenge those Sea Chickens. And I just feel Derrick Henry, awful show last week, Derek. I hope you're listening because I'm ridiculing you.
He's probably got other things to do, to be honest.
He probably has, get ready for a game.
He's putting his boots on.
Put your boots on and lace them up. And I just think maybe, just maybe, he starts to roll. Russell Wilson, yes, guaranteed. He'll put up points. But is there a change in the wind? Or maybe it's just the season's changing, It's gone a bit cold here in Wales. Not sure about Seattle. But for me, Titans win. What do you think?
Titans win, okay. All right then. For my money, the Seahawks weren't tested too heavily last week by the Colts, as we mentioned. The Titans still need to find their feet. They were embarrassed, frankly, by the Cardinals. I think finding your feet against a team like the Seahawks is a tough ask. It's not impossible, but the Titans have shown, especially last week, that if they fall behind in the score, they cannot catch up again, as they once did. They used to be a team famous for falling way behind and then catching up. Not so much now. Wilson was on fire last week, 254 yards and 4 touchdowns. As you said, the Titans need to get Derrick Henry going. That's the key, really. If they can get Derrick Henry going, then I think that balances Tannehill out a bit and he can spend more time putting the ball downfield. But again, the Seahawks are not the team that you resurge as a running back in from to whatever preposition I'm looking for. So I'm going for Seahawks win.
Well, good to differ.
It is good to differ. Konos is saved, at least for this week.
Well, yeah, for this week, we'll see what happens next week.
I'm not giving up on this this analogy in case that wasn't clear, like the planets thing.
Well, yeah.
I'm really sticking with
we'll have
that.
to get a special graphic next time with planets exploding.
Mm.
It'll be all singing and dancing. However, we move on to the Cowboys, who narrowly missed out against the Buccaneers, and they are on the road against the Chargers. Tough ask for them. Who knows? Let's see what Jez thinks, right?
As if he hadn't told us already, very briefly. So I went Cowboys for the win. Last week against the Bucs, we definitely saw a Cowboys team that is absolutely for real. It's not the Cowboys of 2020 that looked like they deserved to be in the XFL rather than in the NFL. And that's not a knock on the XFL, but it is a lower level. The Chargers looked good against the Washington football team, but I don't think they would have pulled out the win if A, Fitzpatrick didn't get injured and played the entire game, or Taylor Heineke started the game and played the whole game. I think that change up and having to reset in the middle of the game is what cost the football team against the Chargers. So I'm not giving the LA the kind of kudos for that. I think it was just a right place, right time kind of deal. The Cowboys are probably going to take them apart, defensively especially. So they win. What do you think?
Yeah, and Cowboys have those major players back from last season injuries, and I think they're going to be able to spread. Well, they are spreading that ball better, and yes, it's only week 2, but as we said, they nearly upset the Buccaneers. Dak Prescott, the guy's back with 403 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Pretty good numbers against the Bucs team, if not exceptional numbers against the Bucs D-line. Amari Cooper, he again, putting up big numbers, 13 receptions, 2 touchdowns. Big pieces that were missing. Dak, Amari, Cowboys win.
Yeah. Again, I don't think anybody is picking Chargers here. Happy to be
from the Charger fans, if they've got any left.
There aren't that many. I only know one.
Well, I don't know. I don't. Oh yeah, I know one. They are family. But I think they lost faith when they moved from San Diego.
I think it was long before that. But that's a conversation for another day.
Absolutely.
But faith is an excellent segue. Oh, there we go. Matt Isles joining us on Facebook. Welcome in, sir. Is going for the Chargers.
Oh, there we are.
There we are.
An Eagles fan.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah. Well,
Duff, if you're still knocking about as a Giants fan, are you going Chargers here, or does common sense prevail?
Yeah. I will publicly congratulate Matt and his wife on the birth of their child a couple of weeks back. Welcome to fatherhood again, Matt. I know you've got other children, but yeah, Matt was he's one of my hammerheads, and poor guy's surviving on 6 hours sleep in a couple of days. So yeah, hey, you know what that feels like?
Yeah, I remember that well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't that long ago for me. Yeah. I'm good now.
Yeah.
I'm good now. And Justin Herbert to get me a ton of fantasy points against the Cowgirls. I see. It's a vested interest here.
Absolutely. Why not?
Bit of Justin Herbert love. Okay. But, what I was about to say is that faith is a theme that carries on from that game into this. As we talk about the Kansas City Chiefs going to the Baltimore Ravens. Do we have any faith in the Ravens after their performance last week? Or is all of our faith in Patrick Mahomes and the miracles that he performs week on week? What do you think? 2 minutes.
Well, I think the Ravens are going to have to testify after what happened to them. Yeah, Ravens are a bit questionable after losing to the Las Vegas Raiders. Yeah, I don't see the same Ravens anymore. Lamar Jackson, the guy's been figured out, and he has been for at least a season now. And they just did not look very good at all. Chiefs, however, took what was looking like a god awful preseason with loss of players, and they do look a lot better now than what they did in the Super Bowl. This one could get ugly, but I think Chiefs win.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the Super Bowl, first of all, and the way that the Bucs treated them there, and then looking at how the Browns treated them for a good 3 quarters last week, I would be slightly concerned about the Chiefs. But at the same time, like Mahomes is going to Mahomes, for lack of a better term. So as long as he continues to fire on all cylinders, I think the Chiefs are still a very difficult team to beat. You've got to get the answer for him. Do we both believe that Lamar Jackson's been figured out? I'm less convinced myself. But I think too much is on his shoulders with all of the injuries to the Baltimore Ravens. Tyson Williams and needs to step up. And Latavius Murray, I believe that they've picked up there as well. They need to get a running attack going to relieve Lamar Jackson. Don't see that happening this week though. Chiefs win. Yes. Let's talk about how the Bucs treated them. No, you missed the Bucs. Always be chatting, I'm afraid. That time has come.
Welcome in,
gone.
Mr. ABC.
But yes, welcome in. I'm sure you will hear many different times across this season of how the Bucs have mistreated poor, ailing other NFL teams, though. Yeah, so we don't want to give you too much of a good time.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to when they come to New England, to be honest.
Revenge game too.
It is. Yeah, it's Belichick versus Brady, isn't it? Really, you can't see it's coach versus coach there.
Yeah.
That's a couple weeks away, though.
It is a couple of weeks away, yeah. And we move to our last game of the week on Monday night, where the Detroit Lions will head into Lambeau Field to take on the Green Bay Packers, who were battered last week. Have we mentioned that? Can I just get that out there? 2 minutes, yours first. Here we go.
Absolutely, yeah. Unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers did look a little bit defeated, didn't he? Poor guy. MVP from last year.
Absolutely gutted.
I know you are. I see.
I mean, look at this face.
I did see you crying publicly on YouTube or something the other day. Anyway, yeah, the Packers have got a lot to do. Do they start Jordan Love? Yes. Will it happen? No. I think maybe we're seeing the demise of the Packers and Rodgers, that relationship. Do they do a tank season and go for good draft picks next year? But one thing is, if the Lions win this week, that leaves the Pack 0-2 to start the 2021 season.
Keep talking.
They have to move on there. I just see an upset here and the Jared Goff show rolling into Green Bay, and the Lions pulling off shock of the week.
Okay. And yes, have we mentioned that Aaron Rodgers had a supremely bad day last week? I'm not sure we have, but there it is. It was insanely bad. It was terrible. He was awful. Is this the new normal? Is Aaron done? God, I hope so, but I really, really doubt it. I think that Rodgers is going to bring that butt hurt from last week, and and the Lions are probably going to be the victim of it. This is the tale of two quarterbacks in this game. We've got Jared Goff on the other side, who had an okay game last week. Played much better than anticipated. 338 yards and 3 touchdowns. Perhaps he is better now? No, he isn't. Packers win, unfortunately.
Oh, I just don't see it in Aaron Rodgers anymore.
He's that kind of guy, though. He lulls you in to think, this guy's useless. He hasn't got it anymore, and then he throws for 600 yards and 27 touchdowns.
And then he ends up being the MVP at the flipping end of the season.
Yeah. He's hosting Jeopardy at the same time as playing in the Super Bowl, because that's how the kind of guy he is. Yeah.
Thankfully, I don't think he's got anywhere near Jeopardy yet, has he?
No. Not at all the topic of conversation for the show, but no, they are guest hosting Jeopardy throughout the rest of this year now, and are scrambling to decide what they're doing. But he might get another go. He might get another fortnight come the end of the. Well, he won't have time. Yeah. So no Rodgers on Jeopardy. That is the good thing.
Stay away.
Stay away from my Jeopardy. It's mine. Okay, so that's the games done and dusted with. Now it's time for the return of our new segment. First time for you, because you were not here last week. It is time for You Bet. Do you remember You Bet, Matthew?
Can't say I do. It must have been well before my time.
You're older than me, for a start. You Bet was a classic Saturday evening show on ITV, in which people used to bet, if that wasn't clear. They would have a panel of celebrities who would place the bets, with Matthew Kelly, that's right, yeah. Well done, Tamsin. Tamsin remembers. And then they would bring in professionals in various fields to do certain challenges, and the panel would bet, yes or no, whether these people would be able to complete the task or not. So like a guy who was particularly good on Mastermind, could he answer 20 Mastermind questions in a minute? The panel would bet, and so on. And so, as we bring You Bet into the 2-minute warning fold, we will take a scenario from one of the various betting sites that's out there, a bet that is available for you to bet on right now, and we will say yes or no, will it happen? And that will add to our scenario as well. And the audience also bet. They did, yeah, and that's true, yeah. So the audience would bet. There were 100. I think it was either 100 or 200 members of the audience. I think it was 100. They would bet, and then whichever amount of the audience were right, say 67 members of the audience were right, whoever got it right on the panel would get that number of points. So, yeah, it was cool. I would have done that. That's a good idea for this, but I haven't set up polls that are across all 3 platforms. We could do it just on Twitch, but that wouldn't really be as fun for everybody else tuning in on YouTube and Facebook. We'll work that out for another time. We'll use an independent polling service, and you can. That would be a way of padding our prediction score, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
You'd never get this back under that circumstance.
It'd be a different colour by the time it came back.
Yeah. Not sure what you're suggesting there. Anyway, this bet. We're going to have 2. Pardon me. We're going to have 2 bets. This first bet comes from the 49ers at Eagles game. These are untimed. We're not going to start the clock. Just in a yes or no with a little explanation. Will Trey Lance come into the game for a second week and score another touchdown? So that's all combined together. Plays in the game, scores another touchdown. What do you think?
I think Trey Lance is being filtered in anyway He was last week quite heavily. So yes to both. He comes in and he scores a touchdown.
Okay, well, it's a blanket deal, so it's just
It's
one
a
yes. It's just yes. Yeah. It's got to be all or nothing, basically. Matthew, I'm going to take this one, says Duff. There you go. Duff's in on this one. What does anybody else in the audience say? Place your bets now, please. Wait, that was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Never mind.
Wrong flipping show.
Yeah, I'm mixing up my my music there. Never mind. Yeah. I say no, mainly just to differ from you, but also Trey Lance. I think they brought him in last week as a bit of a gimmick. They'll probably bring him in the game. I don't think he'll score. I'll
be watching that one intently then.
Yeah, so I'm going to say no, he will not complete that task. Now, going forward, as of next week, I'm expecting you to bring one of these to the table. Okay,
absolutely.
So one from me, one from you. But I've saved you the job this week, and here is a second one that is very close to you. Will the Patriots, and again, all of these criteria have to be met. So will all of this happen? Yes or no? Will the Patriots win? Will Zach Wilson go over 299 passing yards for the Jets? And will Mac Jones go over 299 passing yards for the Patriots?
So all criteria have to be met in one answer, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's either all of this, yes, or all of this, no.
All of this, no. Because you know my prediction for the Pats-Jets game. But yes, all of that, no.
So what is it that you think is not going to be fulfilled here that gives you the no?
I don't think either QB are going to throw 299 plus.
Okay.
I just don't think there's strength in there to do it.
I think that's where it falls down for me as well. I think maybe one can. I wouldn't want to predict which one would, but I predicted the Patriots win. One of these can go over 299 yards, but I think this is going to be a one-sided game either way. Either the Jets really take it or the Patriots really take it. So I don't see them both doing it. I'm going to say no. Always be chatting for you one more time. Will the Patriots win? Zach Wilson pass for over 299 yards and Mac Jones pass for 299 yards. What do you say? Place your bets now, please. Let's have a little look up. Always be chatting and saying yes to the previous, to the Trey Lance bet.
Yeah.
Tamzanaki says, sure, why not? It's not real money. There you go. So I think that's a yes from there as well. Always be chatting now that he has fully digested and understood the bet, says no. And Tamsin says no. She has no clue why. She just does. Well, you know, it's a 50-50 chance of being right or wrong.
There's no money involved unless you physically go and place the bet. But like we said earlier, bet responsibly.
Mm-hmm. Duff's taking the bet. He believes that that all of this will happen. Wow. We shall see.
That'd be a hell of a game if that was true.
It would be a hell of a game, yeah. What time is that game? Is it a 6 p.m. or a 9 p.m?
6 p.m. kickoff, yeah.
That's a shame. I'll be busy watching the Bears be mediocre at 6 o'clock. Yeah, but I'll
just flick on Red Zone. It's fine.
I'll watch it. I'll watch it in 40 minutes, as I've done with every game in this past week. It was wonderful. Yeah. I've quite enjoyed that game in 40 minutes. Put a quid on, do it. I think the odds were something like 17-1, so a quid would get you 18 quid. 17 win and you're quid back. Yeah. Do it. Why not?
Absolutely.
And that's our show. We are
45
minutes away from kickoffs in the 6 p.m. game. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the Bears can do with no offensive line. You're looking forward to see Always Be Chatting win his bet in the shootout that will come from the Jets and Patriots game. We'll be back next week, same time, 4 p.m. UK time, for another edition of 2 Minute Warning, where hopefully I will have a larger number next to my name in the prediction competition, and Matt will still have 9.
I'll just have a larger age than you again. It's fine.
That's true. Yeah.
It's my birthday next Saturday, so I'll come on here looking rather
Old.
Old, yes, absolutely. One step closer to 40, eh?
Like that dilapidated Bledsoe jersey you've got in the background.
Oh, that was my steal off eBay. It's fine. It only cost me £5.
Yeah. I need to go shopping for some vintage jerseys myself. That reminds me.
Yeah,
but,
I've got a shop. I've got a shop where I live in the city centre that sells them. I've seen a couple of Chicago Bears shirts in there.
Oh, well,
there we are.
Take some pictures. Send them this way. But that's a story for another day. As we close things out here on 2 Minute Warning. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next week. Bye bye, everybody. Say goodbye, Matt.
Goodbye, Matt.